Hi there! A few of you have asked me how to mix beautiful greens. So let's dive in. The greens you get straight from a tube can be, well, a bit disappointing. They're often too harsh and artificial looking. That's fine if you want something bold, but not great for landscapes or more subtle paintings. Now, green is a secondary colour, meaning it's mixed from two primaries, blue and yellow. Simple. Well, not quite. I was tutoring a group recently and one of my students was frustrated because she couldn't mix a nice green. When I asked which blues and yellows she was using, we had a bit of a light bulb moment. Different blues and yellows create very different greens. When you think about it, it does make sense. So today I'm going to show you what happens when you mix 3 different blues with 3 different yellows. And in my next video, the one after this one, I'll use some of them to paint this landscape. But for now, stick around because I'll be mixing some gorgeous and subtle colours you'll definitely want to use in your paintings, I promise. Right, let's get started. I always like to mix my greens, and I know people struggle with this. And I think mixing colour is obviously one of the cornerstones of great painting. I think it's really good fun. It's magical. It's like alchemy. You can mix so many beautiful colours, and it's really all about experimentation and understanding the basics. So what are the basics for mixing green? Well, I think we probably all know that blue and yellow make green. I'm only using 3 different blues and 3 different yellows, but you'll see what different greens we can make from just these 6 colours. And as you know, there are lots more blues that you could try and lots more yellows that you could try. I have chosen lemon yellow, which is a very cool yellow, cadmium yellow, which is a warmer yellow, and yellow ochre, which is almost like a brown. And then I've got ultramarine blue, which is a warmer blue than cobalt. There's not a lot in it. And then we've got cerulean blue, which is almost turquoisey. So first of all, I'm just going to take a palette knife and I'm going to mix ultramarine, just a tiny bit, with lemon yellow, this quite cool yellow. Now I know that a little goes a long way with ultramarine, so I'm just going to do that straight off the bat. Straight away I've got a very nice fresh green. Let's try cobalt blue with lemon yellow. Now obviously the more that you mix of one of the other, the different shades you're going to get. That makes a much darker green. And then finally cerulean blue and lemon yellow. I'm trying to keep all my colours clean here, and that one makes a very bright green. So already we've got 3 different greens using just lemon yellow and 3 blues. So 3 very different greens. Let's try the same with cadmium yellow. Ultramarine, and we're doing cadmium now, aren't we? So I'm using more cadmium than ultramarine. So cadmium's quite a warm yellow, and then we get this lovely fern green. Ultramarine and yellow ochre. What does this give us? That is almost it's a very dark olive actually, isn't it? I would call that dark olive. And I'm just going to try adding a little bit more blue into that and see if that makes any difference to that colour. Yeah, let's change it a little. I'd say it's probably more blue. It's a sort of an earthy colour, isn't it? I'm going to put that right next to that. So what happens when we mix cobalt with cadmium? Like I said, I'm going to run out of space. Let's try and find a bit of space here. Cadmium. Quite similar to ultramarine. I can't quite work out in my head why that is at all, because these two are quite different. But anyway, I told you it was magic. And then we've got cobalt and yellow ochre. Is that right? Yes. And again we've got quite an olivey green. That's kind of more olive green, that's more brown, isn't it? That's quite interesting. So now it's cerulean blue and cadmium. So cerulean blue, oops, that's too much. These are quite strong, these colours. Yellow ochre and a little bit of that blue. And then we get quite an earthy green. Okay, so what are we looking at here? We're looking at really 9 different greens. These two are surprisingly similar. These are quite similar as well. This is a little bit darker. The lemon yellow produces quite bright greens. The cadmium produces duller greens, apart from this one. And then the ochre produces these lovely earthy greens, which are fantastic to use. So already we've got almost 9 different colours of green. But if you think about that, even with just these 6 colours here, if you use a little bit more, a little bit less of each of the colours as you mix, you will get different mixes. So there are literally thousands of different hues that you can mix out of just these 6 colours. Now I'm going to show you something else, a little trick of mine that I really think works very, very well. And that is when I've got a colour like this, lemon yellow and cerulean blue, and you come up with this rather, I'm going to go with lurid green, probably look really nice in an abstract. I'm not sure it looks great in a landscape. And then you add a tiny bit of brown. I like using raw umber. You can try different browns. Raw umber's a fairly cool brown. Some of the others are a bit warmer. I quite like raw umber. And straight away you can see that it's just knocked that back a bit. It's coming closer to that, but there is a little bit more brown in it, and we can add more brown. And you all of a sudden you start getting a colour that you can imagine seeing in nature. I'm not sure I'd want to add brown to that because there is a lot of brown in yellow ochre, but let's try this one. So cadmium and again the cerulean. So the cerulean is coming out as the one that produces the most lurid greens. That's such a good word, isn't it? Add a tiny bit of brown to that. We get that colour, which is looking a little bit more like a fern, you know, a fern tree or a conifer or something, that sort of colour. We can tint all of these different colours with white, and you get some interesting, particularly I think with, I'm going to struggle to work out which is which now. I think this one is yellow ochre and cerulean blue. Let's add a little bit of white to that, and you get rather a beautiful sort of, gosh, what would you call that? Can't even think. It's a lovely colour though. And then similarly, if we were to mix this, which is the deeper yellow ochre with the ultramarine, we get yet another gorgeous colour. Isn't that lovely? Look at that. Oh, you don't get that out of a tube, do you? If we were to mix lemon and ultramarine, I'm going to have to do another one of these. Hang on. Lemon, tiny bit of ultramarine and a bit of white. We're going to get a lovely minty colour. Yep. Look at that. Oh, again, don't get that in a tube. So you can go through and try lots of different mixes of these colours, but try and keep it simple so that you understand what's going on and how you can recreate them. You can also desaturate them with black. I rarely use black, but you can. And let's see, this one I think is cadmium yellow and cerulean blue here, I think. That's that one. So I'm just going to add a tiny bit of black, and you don't need a lot of black. A little black goes a long, long way. And by adding black, it just knocks the colour back a bit in a slightly different way to brown. And you get quite a rich green. And if you were to add white to that, you get yet another beautiful colour. Look at that. Look at that. There are lots of things that you can do to make beautiful colours that are just sublime to look at, and it will just elevate your work so much. This takes practice, and it's just worthwhile sitting down with a few colours, not many. Don't put loads of colours out in your palette, it just gets confusing and messy. But keep it simple. You could try just using 3 blues and 3 different reds, or 3 different reds and 3 different yellows. So use the primaries, essentially, red, yellow and blue, to develop colours that are pretty unique to you and to probably your practice. Just one final thing I'm going to do, and that is I'm going to show you a colour that I love and I use it a lot in my work, and that is ultramarine blue and this raw umber. And you get this gorgeous chromatic black. A chromatic black is a black that isn't exactly black, but it's made up of colours. And if you then tint that with white, you can get some absolutely gorgeous greys. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I love that for skies. And you can go whiter. This is titanium white, which is very opaque. If you were to use zinc white, which is also called mixing white, it's less opaque and it makes less of a difference. Titanium white kind of makes colours a bit more pastel-y, I would say. So look at those gorgeous greys. I could go on all day, but hey, it's your turn now. Thanks for watching, and do subscribe, it really helps my channel, and I can make more videos for you. Bye for now.